Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Ken Andrews, and as the principal of Monterey Middle School, it's my pleasure to welcome you here this afternoon. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the Esquimalt and Songhees nations on whose traditional territories, these beautiful natural surroundings, we are fortunate to live and learn and do our work. And I also want to acknowledge my team, the teachers and the support staff of Monterey, who've done an incredible job working together along with great support from the district to really move through the various phases of this pandemic. And we're really looking forward, well, it's been go in and students coming on campus again. Yesterday and this morning, it was really special to be walking through the halls and classrooms and see so many of our teachers and students doing what they do together, learning together, laughing together. That's been wonderful. And we're looking forward to giving a tour to Minister Fleming and showing him what we've done in terms of social distancing and hand washing and other ways to keep things safe while our students and staff work together back on campus. And in that regard, I'd like to introduce two of our students. This is Jacob and Joshua Cunliffe, and they are going to be taking you on a tour of the school later today. And if you haven't figured it out already, Jacob and Joshua don't need to physically distance from each other because they are twins living in the same household, and they're looking forward to giving you the tour. And with all that said, I'd like to welcome Minister Fleming, and I want to thank you and Dr. Bonnie Henry for your leadership and the guidance you've given our school system as we navigate the pandemic. Welcome, Mr. Fleming, to Monterey.
Thank you so much, Principal Andrews. It's a real pleasure to be here at Monterey Middle School this afternoon to see what schools look like under the Restart plan in British Columbia. I want to thank Joshua and Jacob in advance. This is their first day back at school, for giving me a tour of what the new normal looks like in your school. I'm looking forward to seeing the physically distanced desks, the hand washing stations, maybe an explanation of some of the schedules around staggered drop-off and pickup times. I know that recess and lunch is going to be different. You guys are twin brothers, so I presume you're okay to share food, but all the new rules around sharing equipment and keeping distance are part of managing the pandemic and are part of the very comprehensive guidelines that the Provincial Health Officer, Dr. Bonnie Henry, and her team and WorkSafe BC have provided to the school system. And so things don't look different, or don't look normal, don't look like they used to. And there's a very good reason for that. It's because it's safe to do so. We have to respect one another's physical space. Physical distancing has been the most effective part of BC's pandemic management. It's why we're in the place where we are today. There are very few provinces or states or countries that have managed this pandemic as well as British Columbia in terms of keeping people safe, keeping our healthcare system intact, and being able to gradually reopen some parts of our economy and indeed institutions of learning. It's not the same, it's very part-time. This is a middle school, grades 6 to 8. So attendance here is staggered at 20% per day. Most students here will receive a full day of instruction per week. My daughter is a middle school student. She went off to Central Middle School today. She was very excited. She's on the same schedule as the Cunliffe brothers as well. And my son is in grade 5 at his last year of elementary school here in School District 61. And he's on a 40% return to school schedule. And I think he said he had 6 or 7 kids in his class yesterday. So it was very possible to physically distance. The teachers and staff have been absolutely amazing, both at the local school level and at the provincial level. The BC Teachers Federation, QPBC, the BC Principals and Vice Principals Association, the BC Confederation of Parent Advisory Councils, all of the stakeholders in the K-12 education system have been working with the Ministry of Education and Dr. Bonnie Henry's organization for about the past 5 to 6 weeks. This has been a lot of work. The guidelines are long and extensive, and I know that parents are probably tired of reading 14-page documents, but for those who are concerned or want to know more about the health and safety protocols that are in schools like Monterey Middle School, I'd invite people to check that out on the website. We hope that the June restart is part of something that will help us have an even stronger start to school in September. We know that a lot of students have struggled at home, solely based on remote online learning, and I know teachers have done incredibly innovative things to make learning fun and engaging, but a lot of kids have missed in-class instruction, and there really is no substitute for that. So it's an option for parents. We respect whatever choice they make, whether it's to return their kids to school at this time or not. And I know from day one yesterday, we're already hearing from some parents who maybe thought that they wouldn't return to school, that they're now displaying some interest. So I would encourage them to contact their local teacher and their local principal if they want to return to school later this week or next week. We've got 4 weeks left on the school calendar, and I know that everybody is working so hard, teachers, support staff, principals and vice principals, to make this an awesome month of learning before we go off into our summer break. In terms of how yesterday went, I just want to update some provincial numbers. We had in British Columbia, across 60 school districts, 60,000 kids returned to their schools yesterday. And we expect similar numbers of the other half of the class today in BC schools. So about a third of kids in British Columbia are utilizing the return to part-time limited in-class instruction, and that's fantastic. And teachers are supporting the other kids who don't return through the continuation of remote online learning. And we've seen teachers and school-based teams really step up to be creative about this, to create a schedule that doesn't overwhelm people with an unrealistic, overburdened workload, but to help all kids who need support, whether they continue to learn from home or whether they're coming to school a couple of days a week. So I'll leave it there. I know we have some reporters on the line who may have some questions, and Jacob and Joshua, you stay dry for a couple of minutes, and then I'm looking forward to going inside the school with you.
Thank you. Okay, just a reminder to all callers on the line, please press *1 to enter the queue. You are limited to one question. If you would like to re-enter the queue and time permits, I will come back to you. First question is from Justine Hunter, Globe and Mail.
Hi, Minister. I'm wondering, you've just given us some breakdown on the number of kids attending. Could you give us an idea of how many instructors are attending, and what kind of concerns you're hearing from teachers about sanitation levels?
Could you just repeat the last part there? I got the first thing about this teacher return numbers.
Yeah, and just there's a number of teachers concerned about whether or not the safety protocols can be maintained.
Okay. Yes. Great. No, thanks for that question. And I think what we're seeing, like province-wide, this is an aggregate number, about 90% of teachers are returning to schools like Monterey Middle here, and doing a combination, a hybrid model of learning, combining online remote learning and in-class instruction. So there's about 10% of teachers. It'll be a little higher in some districts, a little lower in others, that have been given accommodations to continue working off-site, typically in their homes, and many of them have been assigned to solely support, for example, remote online learning. So that's about the numbers that we're hearing, about a 90% return of the workforce and 10% accommodation rate.
Next question is from Tanya Fletcher, CBC.
Hi there, Minister. The BC Community Alliance is advocating for a Black History component to be added to the BC curriculum. Is this something your ministry supports and is working on?
Yes, thank you for that question. It's very timely. As a matter of fact, I've just drafted a letter this morning to the BC Black History Association, an organization that I've worked with before becoming the Minister of Education, and certainly during my time in this position, around curriculum materials and learning units that are available now. Every February we celebrate BC Black History Month, and they have put out a call in the past to have additional learning opportunities around the rich history of the Black community in British Columbia. I think given that what we're seeing, not just in the United States, but the rise of racism even during this pandemic, which you've heard the Premier and a number of my colleagues, myself included, speak out about, and so we do fund a number of anti-racism initiatives through our Erase program. A lot of kids are coming back to school, and they're interested in resuming learning of various subjects, but a lot of them are really interested in talking about current events, including what we're seeing in the United States right now, and the demonstrations in solidarity that we've seen in Canada. So, as I said, I've written a letter to the BC Black History Association to make this, if you will, a teachable moment, how we can strengthen the curriculum ties to learn about the multicultural history and including the history of the Black community in British Columbia.
And Global News. Richard, go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't hear that. Thank you. Minister, we're hearing that some districts are providing layoff notices to teachers due to a drop-off in international student enrollment. I know you've been asked about this many times, and you're made clear that teachers would not be laid off due to a drop-off in international student enrollment. So what's happening here? Teachers going to lose their jobs? Are districts out of line if they are providing these layoff notices?
Districts that are doing that are doing it in accordance with the collective agreement. So we're working very closely with the districts that do have a fairly significant international student population. We're also awaiting further instructions from the federal government about what student travel visas are going to look like, what international airline commercial activity is going to look like. We're also having conversations with districts about, a remote learning program for those who can't return to Canada at this time. What we expect, though, from most districts, and you've heard it from places like Surrey and a number of other districts, they expect every teacher that is, according to process, receiving a technical layoff notice today to be rehired. Most of them will teach domestic BC kids next year. We have growing enrollment in, I think, about 55 of 60 districts in BC. And so therefore, when you take out retirements, when you factor in enrollment growth, we don't expect any layoffs will be permanent of BC teachers.
Next question is from Rob Fleming, CTV.
Well, hi, Minister. Thanks for your time. I guess I'm wondering primarily about your thoughts on the impact of those children who do not go back to school for the month of June and wait until September, and what will amount to close to 6 months away from school, and the adverse effects on them socially. And I'm also wondering, I guess on a related note, when kids all do go back in September, is it going to be back to school as normal, or will it be a hybrid system?
Yeah, so a couple parts to that question. Maybe I'll start with the second half. I think what you've heard Dr. Bonnie Henry and other officials in government and my ministry talk about is to be prepared for all contingencies. It's likely that we will have to have a hybrid system again. Until we have a vaccine, until the pandemic is officially over in this part of the world and around the globe. I think that June, a partial return, a gradual reintroduction of in-class instruction sets us up really nicely for September. There will be a number of jurisdictions that have not done it before. We're certainly fielding a lot of information requests from the Departments of Education, for example, of Oregon, Washington, California, and a number of Canadian provinces asking for all the documentation that we have that allowed us to carefully plan over the last 5 to 6 weeks the June restart. It's likely that we will have a situation, in terms of if we flatten the curve, but there could be, we have to prepare for a second wave in British Columbia. We have to prepare to be able to move forward as we have done this Monday and move backwards when we get into the fall and winter. It's really hard to tell. We'll, of course, be updating the media throughout the summer. We'll make an official call as to how strong the restart of school is going to look like, come Labor Day for the next school year. A little closer to that date, I would say around late August.
Shannon Patterson.
Oh, hi there. I'm actually just following up with what Rob Fleming's first question was there. He wanted to know about the impact on kids of not being in school for 6 months, and what you just said, that it could be a hybrid model, suggesting that perhaps high schoolers, kids who learn distance learning, maybe even longer than 6 months being in a classroom. Are you concerned about the impact that has on kids? That's a long time to be out of school.
Yeah, and I think, look, the reason, the first reason why we're here where we are today, or as of yesterday, I should say, with the restart, gradual as it is, was concern about a lot of kids experiencing learning loss, younger kids in particular, struggling with the online remote learning. And as you've heard in polling from kids themselves, very high levels of disengagement being reported by kids. So this is an opportunity for kids to have. We can't force it on everyone. People are going to want to make the right choices for their family based on the circumstances in BC. We've been absolutely transparent as a government to inform British Columbians to decide what's best for their family every day in terms of what's happening in our healthcare system, in our communities, around managing COVID-19. So, but there is a concern. We may be in stage 3 again in September, hypothetically. That will allow high school students and middle school students to come back 20% of the time and have a hybrid model. You heard Dr. Henry speculate that perhaps that is where we'll be in September. Certainly, it's very likely that we'll be there at some point in the next school year. So what we need to do as a school system is really work hard over the summer with teachers who have flourished under the remote learning system, with all the points of excellence that we've seen in the school system, and try and generalize that, support professional development, and get ready for a very robust hybrid learning model into the next school year.
Next question is from Lisa Usda, News 1130.
Minister, you mentioned the fact that some parents are rethinking and considering sending their children to school who originally had said they are not. Hearing from teachers that they're concerned that they've got it set up right now. They've got their kids, like at some schools, teaching Monday, Tuesday, and then doing the online kids on Wednesday, Thursday. What is going to happen to that balance when those kids come back? Like if the classroom already is set for the maximum number of students, how do you deal with them additional students returning?
Yeah, I mean, look, the guidelines are very specific. You cannot have more than 50% of K to 5 kids in a classroom at any given time. The guidelines are very specific around middle and high schools, 20% per day. As I mentioned, we have about a third of kids have returned so far. We well anticipated, based on the experiences in places like Denmark and New Zealand, that you do see numbers go up. You do see interest increase amongst parents and kids when they see it's safe. When they talk to other parents whose kids have returned, and they're perfectly free to change their mind. But what they have to do is inform the school community, contact their teacher. But the guidelines aren't going to change. We're going to keep the density of kids in schools at a very low, gradual level, no matter what. But here in Monterey Middle School, we have about 60% of kids returning, but only 20% of the 60% on a given day. So those are quite small numbers, very manageable for physical distancing. We've got, as I said, a provincial average of about 30 to 35% returning K-5 students. So if that were to increase by, say, up to 50%, and that being 50% of 50% next week, those are the kinds of things that teachers
With so many families still staying at home, having their kids at home, and teachers going back in the classroom, we're hearing there's less contact with the teachers. Obviously, they're still dedicating some time to online learning. I'm wondering if this hybrid model continues for kids who might be in families with vulnerable people and who just can't go back to school. Can they expect a lesser level of education than their fellow students?
No, I think what we've encouraged is districts to create a schedule that can support all learners, those that learn at home and those that are returning to school. The kids that are returning to school, of course, are also doing online remote learning as well. So, we have required every district to work with local teachers associations to ensure that the workload is balanced so that both groups of students can continue to be supported. And we're hearing lots of great examples out there of teachers achieving that balance, of teachers that are being accommodated at home. We spoke about that a little earlier in the news conference, supplementing and helping. We have specialist teachers that are working with kids that are solely remote, or some of those kids that are returning to school. So with the schedule we have, those are the types of things that are being kept in consideration. We have to support all learners, and we're thrilled to be able to support kids who have decided to return for in-class instruction with the ability to work with their support staff and their teachers.
And last question is from Sandy Hall, CFAX 1070.
Yes, hi, thanks, Minister. I'm just wondering, we have heard that if COVID cases start to erupt in our schools again, there is a plan. What would that look like?
Yeah, and I think you've heard Dr. Bonnie Henry talk about this extensively. We actually had a situation where we did have somebody attend a school in Surrey shortly before spring break. That school was closed for 24 hours. It reopened later on. There was contract tracing. In that case, it was a parent who came into the school. Of course, we don't allow parents to come into the school for this month of June. But anybody presenting symptoms is sent home immediately. They have to be picked up. That could be a teacher, that could be a student, and they have to go home and monitor those situations. Their own situation, I should say. Everybody coming into school has to self-monitor each day before they arrive. They have to have clean hands, hand hygiene. And I think when you look at the what's been explained as the hierarchy of controls around the spread of COVID, it's about physical distancing first and foremost. It's about frequent hand washing and hand hygiene. It's about cleaning high-contact surfaces regularly, at least twice a day in a school setting. It's about deep cleaning protocols. So those are the kinds of things that have been actioned by school districts and local schools like the one that is behind me right across British Columbia.
All the time we have for questions. Thank you, everyone.